Welcome to Doing Good by Doing Better, the podcast for world shapers, not spectators. I'm Margaret Rogers, CEO of Pariveda, a professional services firm that helps make potential possible for our clients. On this show, I talk with founders, executives, and innovators who share hard lessons, bold ideas, and real strategies for purpose-driven growth. This episode will offer practical insights you can use this week to solve forward. Because at Pariveda, we know that doing good only endures when we keep learning how to do better. Today, I'm with Eleanor Allen, an engineer turned global impact CEO who has led Water for People and B-Lab Global. Now, she serves as CEO of the World Flourishing Organization and is the founder of Catapult for Change. In this episode, Eleanor shares how discovering the research on human flourishing helped her turn years of leadership experience into practical tools leaders can use to design healthier workplaces. She unpacks the latest data on well-being, burnout, and loneliness, and why leaders need stronger human skills in an AI-powered world. Let's jump in. I'm so excited to have you here today, Eleanor Allen. Purpose as life's work. This is somebody who really embodies that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm excited to be here with you, Margaret.
Here's a softball question. I'm wondering what you're excited about or energizing you lately in your work.
Many things. Top of mind, World Flourishing. It's the first thing that comes to mind when you ask the question, because that's the newest venture for me. And what I'm really excited about is putting together the tools and the toolkit for leaders to really create amazing cultures and flourishing organizations. And it's based in science. So my background is science and engineering. And then I had, like you said, all these years in leadership. And I just had such an appreciation for what makes good culture and what makes bad culture. But I only knew it from my experience. Then when I found out there's a whole study about this based on human flourishing, I was like, oh, okay, we got to put these things together. And I want to help others create great places to work. So that's pretty exciting.
That is really exciting. And for transparency, I get to be in the inaugural group to experience flourishing.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to be part of that journey.
Yes. And so the group that you're in, Margaret, is about 20 people in the group. So we have executives from all different industries, different nonprofit, for-profit, associations, utilities. So the intention is to bring tools to you and the others to create a blueprint for flourishing for your organizations. So we are putting the tools to practice that we're developing, which is just amazing. I'm so inspired and excited.
So one of the things that we think about at Pariveda is we think about building a company for the next 1,000 years. And you've led organizations like B-Lab Global and Water for People, and they're all about building long-term systemic change. And in a culture of short-termism these days, what principles have guided you in building organizations that are meant to endure beyond any one leader?
I think it's because people are going to be around unless we do something like make ourselves extinct. It's about the people. So how do you build the structure that can be dynamic and adaptable as people change and the needs change? Interesting, you mentioned Water for People. When I first joined, everyone's like, our success is going out of business because everyone's going to have water. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then the more I got in there, I was like, okay, let's say we do that, everybody gets water. And the system we were trying to change was the government provided everyone water, and we didn't have to do that with philanthropy. That mission's still going on, by the way, but it doesn't end there actually. So then the purpose changes to making sure that water continues to flow, right? So then it's about, you build the infrastructure, but then you build the maintenance and operations, and the complexity changes. So I see that as organizations evolve as well. You might have the mission to provide water, but then get it in perpetuity and then create water professionals. So when I left, it was like creating a water sector that has the professional expertise that can continue to keep the water flowing. So that's how we evolve as a species, but also how organizations and systems evolve.
Well, how has your view of legacy evolved, especially as you were leading organizations or are leading organizations, and now you're more founding organizations as well? Like, how does that have evolved for you in terms of legacy?
Oh my gosh. I must say, being an entrepreneur is really hard. I thought the switch from private sector to nonprofit was really hard too. So I was like, that was really hard. I got to hit the easy button. What's interesting running big organizations, which is most of my career, it's about these type of things. You think about, how can I help people and organizations evolve to meet the challenges of the future and continue to have impact? So here, there's just a few of us. We're a scrappy startup. We're like, what's the best use of my time today to create this big vision. So our big vision at World Flourishing is to help 1 billion workers live better lives at work. Okay, we're going to do that through a huge network of others as well. So it's how do we find the people that want to do this? How do we connect them? How do we give them the tools? And then create the system that really uplifts the work experience, because we know what it can be. We know there are good work experiences, but we know most of the workers of the world, from Gallup's data and others, are disengaged, and going to work every day is a drag. So creating this network and system to uplift 1 billion people is, and we're only a few of us. Okay, what is the best use of my time for the next hour? So then the question is, do I work in the business, like doing blueprint programs, figuring out the curriculum, or do I work on the business? We need capital. I need more people. And yeah, so those are my everyday conversations with self. And then last night with my husband, he's like, why are you working so hard on this thing? You have your catapult's doing great. Like, it's just me. It's my own consulting and coaching. He's like, why don't you just sail away on that ship? Because this other one has this big dream and vision, and I get really excited about doing that.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not sure I really get it. And I was like, yes, this is it. So this is how I explained it to him. He has two things too. He's a financial advisor, but he also coaches people going into retirement, how to actually spend the money they've saved. So he's just like you with your pivot project. You get super excited when you work with those clients and those people, and then you do your work. And I do the same thing. He's like, oh, yeah, I get it.
You are so flexible too, because like you said, you can work in and on the business, right? You have that flexibility. And I love that humility and servant leadership that you have about you. What's one part of your legacy, if you were to fast forward way ahead, that you hope people don't have to replicate?
I worked a long time, decades. Like, if I just work harder, this will work out. And I actually had a coach once who's like, you always say everything's going to be fine. It'll always work out. And we get older and wiser, right, Margaret? Okay, like, I spent too much time trying to move that rock. I didn't have the authority. I didn't have the decision-making power. I didn't have the financial means to move that rock. You know, in this case, it's like changing the organization, or my role was an influence role, not a decision-making role. But if I just thought if I worked harder, I could still get the outcomes I wanted. And then life is short. I just thought, I can't change this. I got to go find a place where I can make change and use my skills without hitting my head against the wall every day and being frustrated. But it took me a long time to learn that.
I think I had the same experience in terms of that, so I can totally relate. One of the things that I think has been coming up a lot is about values. I think companies have been struggling a lot with that. And I was wondering if you could share a time when a value-based decision didn't go as planned, or maybe even backfired. How did that experience shape your approach to purpose-driven leadership?
I'm a very trusting person, and I think sometimes too trusting, and I have strong intuition, and I know that about me. And sometimes it's really drives me, and then I get in trouble. So an example would be trusting people without properly vetting them or understanding their history, or, people who've worked with them. So I had a partner once, and just, this feels awesome. Yeah, let's do it. Go for it. And I never thought about, I should say, I never believed it was necessary to find out who they worked with before, what their experience had been, how they were. And it totally backfired on me. I got burned, and it was preventable. And so two things of that. I got burned. I need to use my intuition, but with reason. I have internal controls or external controls. The best way for me is surround myself by people who ask me those questions. And then I was like, you're right, I got to do that. So I have created my little kitchen cabinet of personal board of directors that ask me those questions, because I know this about me, that I'm too trusting. And I also realize that the people I've known forever, that I've worked with for many years, are worth gold, right? I totally trust them. And because we have that history together, and we have supported each other, and leaning more on that part of my network than like finding new people who I don't know is in this stage of my career.
Yeah, and you have such a broad range. Like you said, you're an engineer by training. You've worked with these global nonprofits, and now you have your personal business as well, which is a lot of coaching. And I wonder what kind of theme and hard lesson you've learned, probably slower than you wanted to that way, across these different types of industries.
Well, it's interesting when you look back, like, all I ever wanted to do was make the environment better. Like, when I was in engineering school, it was all about the environment. So I was environmental engineer, water engineer scientist. I was a double major. It was all about the environment. And then I was in the Peace Corps, and I was like, oh, there's also like a human aspect here. Wow, people who drink contaminated water in my area, like, they die. Oh my gosh. this is like a bigger thing than the flora and fauna around me. This is like, I can help people. So I did a little pivot then from water resources to water quality and really focus on public health. And that's what I worked on for many years, doing water and wastewater treatment. And then I was going to do that forever. And I hit a ceiling. I was like at the top and I had an experience like, oh, I can't do this for 20 more years unless I go get the same job somewhere else. I got to reinvent myself. So then, okay, I am really purpose driven. So nonprofit sounded like a good place. And it was amazing. Water for People was an amazing organization, still is. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to run it for so many years. But sort of threading the needle of that was water and that was global. And I was like, I know water, I know global, I didn't know nonprofit. So I was ignorant there, but I learned that. And then going to B Lab, it's like, I know nonprofit, I know global. I love business, actually. Philanthropy isn't going to save the world here for the water sector. So that's a great combo. So that through line made sense. And then with Catapult and World Flourishing, it's like, oh, there's this whole part about systems and organizations. So just pulling this through my life, and this feels like I'm pulling all my parts and pieces together. So then one little shiny light for me, being always future focused, is like building a flourishing community. So long-term project for the World Flourishing Organization. What is the framework? I'm working on organizations now, but what is the framework for flourishing communities? What are the parts and pieces you need to make a place, a physical built environment, amazing? And that brings my engineering, that brings in the people, that brings in program management. Like, yeah, that gets me out of bed every day.
That's amazing. As a leader, you have to make so many decisions every single day. And it's like that movie, Sliding Doors, where all of a sudden you created the pathway. Yeah. And is there a particular thing that stands out for you as a decision that you wish you had done differently? Or maybe you made it too fast and you wish you had taken more time to think about it that you would have changed?
Yeah, I think about going back to one of my earlier comments, staying in a situation too long, just like perseverance will get me through, and I'm going to figure out how to fix this. I'm a fixer. So rewind, like I knew right away it was a bad situation, but I didn't have the courage, or like I was worried about reputation. I just got here. I can't leave. Like I can fix this. In hindsight, that was crazy, just very unpleasant. So again, if I had vetted things properly, I probably wouldn't have gotten there. So I started my basic lesson learned about do that due diligence, figure it out, and then dive in, because my propensity is to like, yeah, I'm going in. I guess that would be my lesson learned about taking that time up front to make sure it's the right situation, because I get excited and I'm trusting. And I just was like, yeah, I can see myself there. I know I can be of service here. So going for it. But it didn't always work out for me.
Yeah. Circling back to World Flourishing Organization, and you talked about how it's really defining a way for people to flourish in the workplace. And in your view, if you were to have a crystal ball 10 years from now, what would that look like?
Oh my gosh, this one I love, because I obviously think about this. So it would look like leaders, say at the Blueprint program that we have with you and the others, we have a whole bunch of people who understand the science behind the behaviors they do as leaders and how that ripples through the organization, such that you can intentionally do other things to create better outcomes for yourself. First, it all starts with self. And this is also, I had a long personal journey about my own inner work that made me realize like everything I do has a ripple effect. The shadow of a leader is huge, right? But everything I do ripples through my team and the organization as a CEO. So having that awareness, that learning at the executive level, but also knowing like, I want these other outcomes. Like being a CEO, you know how it is. Like, I don't just get it. I keep saying the same things. Why are things not changing? Then being able to say, oh, things aren't changing because part of my responsibility here is I have to do X, Y, or Z differently. Make a little shift. That becomes a bigger shift because everything ripples. So having those skills at the executive level, the executives understanding how to bring it to their teams and then how to bring it to the organization. And every story is going to be different because every organization has different needs and every CEO has a different vision for their organization they're leading. So having that multiply to workplaces. So that is my crystal ball, like having events where we can exchange ideas, flourishing forums. We have a membership where people can come and learn and have experts speak on state-of-the-art research and other things. And then we have an advisory where we help the organizations figure out how to implement it. And then we have our community of flourishing professionals who can be the long-term implementers, but we're at the bridge between the assessment, your plan, and then help you find support you need to get it done.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is we talked in our first session a little bit about anxiety, how people are feeling very anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious about what worries you about future leaders based on what you see today.
I think there's a bunch of skills that we don't have, and myself included. Like, I'm an avid reader of AI and the future. So a bit of the futurist stuff that I read, like, we have this huge focus on the technology that's here, right? But how do we interface with that? And what are the skills we need as leaders to maximize AI and all the things that are getting faster and faster on the tech side? The human side is a bit slower, but we definitely need stronger relationships. We definitely need managers that can connect with their employees remotely, that understand how lonely it is to work by yourself. And like, this lack of community is one of the findings. Like, we talked in our first session with Matt Lee about the Global Flourishing Study. We are a human species, and the human species needs other humans to survive and thrive. But we're creating, especially in this country, environments where we work alone, and that doesn't serve us well. So we have an epidemic of burnout and loneliness and quiet quitting and all these things that are happening in the workplace. So getting the skills to understand how to be a good human manager, I think it's a growth area. I'm convinced of that. And there are different skills as we bring in more technology and we become more remote.
Yeah. There was a really interesting group that I was talking with about this trend of companies reacting to things that are going on and this drive of businesses being that voice. And of course, that created a lot of consternation for some of the businesses and frankly backfired on certain businesses as well. And one of the things that was highlighted was that community institutions have devalued. And the thing that is still in many people's world is the workplace community, but everything from spiritual communities to social communities to just local communities have just changed so much from what they were 70 years ago. When you think about something like that, how does flourishing play in more into that?
Yeah, I think it's a huge part of it. First, like, just thinking about the workplace, let's say you're remote, and even for Pariveda, you have offices all over. What is a way, and I started thinking about this at Water for People because it was COVID, but even at B Lab, we were super remote. How can we have a physical gathering, maybe quarterly, call it a retreat, whatever you want, so people are together? Also, when you onboard people and they've never met anyone, like, how do you connect? So at least people have a relationship as the foundation, and you can build on it remotely. But then you have to re-come together from time to time. So I think that's a really important part of building a flourishing workplace, and having community at work, finding people that you can be included with. It could be employee resource group or something shared interest. It could be a social thing, but I think it's also definitely like having that space to eat lunch together, and having that space to even have breakfast together. I had a thing at Water for People where I would do crepes for everybody and bring crepes in the office. It was so simple, but it was like people came to eat them, right? Like, it was a thing. So finding those ways to connect us, I think, is essential for workplace culture and building that community at work. And just the spirituality is a very interesting topic you brought up, because it's a huge part of the Global Flourishing Study was spirituality. Now, I'm not a religious person, but my spirituality is in nature. I need that, like, regeneration to be in nature. Maybe there are others that do that too, and we go take a walk together, or we go walk our dogs together, or we could take a hike together or something. That's still building community, and that's building it through not working on a project, but it's something more personal. And I think it's really important.
Yeah, I love the fact that within one of our offices, they have an anime group, right?
Yeah,
That's what they
it's
love.
awesome.
We have another group, to your point about food brings people together. Apparently, whenever we have a barbecue face off, everybody comes in into the office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think those are great examples, and it creates connections and then memories, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you think about how leadership is also evolving, right? The command and control leadership, there's just so many articles that talk about that's so out of style. Strong hierarchies are out of style. And you've got leaders who are talking about safety and vulnerability. Brene Brown is leading that charge. If you could dismantle a common leadership practice that's still widely accepted today, what would it be and why?
This is a very apropos question, but you didn't know it. But our next topic at Blueprint is going to be listening. And I think this is one that's very underrated and so powerful. And just reflecting on my own experience, it takes time to listen to really understand what your employees need. And when we were younger, it was like, management, they just don't get it. Like, why are they making decisions? It doesn't make any sense. And I don't agree with that. I had no voice there. So there's this split, like this polarity between management and everybody else, workers, right? And then you grow up, and I remember one day I got a promotion, and then my boss was like, welcome to the management team. Now you are management, and you have to solve everybody's problems. I was like, what? Oh, yeah, now I get it, right? I got it. Oh, I can't say it's them. It's me now. So that being part of the management and really knowing and understanding and listening to what your employees need, I think it is a huge skill and very underrated. And then when I would go back to my time as CEO, I'd be like, for my internal comms team, like, I said that at least 15 times, right? They're like, nobody knows what the strategy is or what KPIs are for the quarter. I'm like, what are you talking about? So then I wasn't communicating. I mean, I have a role. I wasn't communicating effectively, or I wasn't saying it the way they could hear that. So there's the listening part, and then there's the sending the message part. And both of those are essential skills for being a good leader, I think. So in this next session, we're doing a part about storytelling in the workplace and how to capture employee voices and sentiment. And then the other speakers about resonant listening and really good internal communication inside an organization. So I think those are both skills that are like an art. Like, you can get better and better, but there's no real playbook. It's just practice.
Yeah, especially now it's even noisier, because I think back to when I first started working, email, even that was a little bit of a novelty to email people. You had desk phones, right? You would pick up the phone or you'd walk to that person or to your meeting. And I don't know about your organization, but in our organization, we have Slack, we have email, we have Teams, we have SharePoint, we have cell phones, we have texting. And I always think about, I wonder how many seconds in a year that I waste trying to figure out which channel particular piece of communication is sitting in.
Yeah. We had one office. I mean, we had many offices outside the US. The US office was here in Denver. It was a giant room. We had, 40 desks in there. And it was amazing how many times you'd send a message across the room. You'd see the person, but you're sending a message. And I remember so many times telling myself, walk over there and talk to person X, no messaging, walk. But back when we started, when email was still a novelty, right? Like, you would walk. You'd walk the halls. You'd talk. You'd knock on a door. Do you have a minute? You'd say, can I walk to have coffee with you or whatever? It was so much more in person. And so thinking back, it's almost like slowing down to work better, right? Because all this rapid communication, it takes like 10 messages to have one conversation.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Then you wonder, are you really saving time? Are you really accomplishing something or being effective at all?
Yeah.
All right. I have a lightning round for you.
Okay.
Just 3 questions. First thing that comes to your mind. What's a book you'd recommend right now?
Oh, I just got one in the mail that I'll recommend because it's a university press from Oxford called Why Workplace Wellbeing Matters. And it's actually really interesting. I ordered it a while ago. So thing comes in the mail, you're like, oh, I forgot all about this. So the Oxford Wellbeing Center has a relationship with Indeed. So it's full of data. Of course, I love data. So all about these topics. So I got to dive into that, but I started reading it. And there's a podcast also that I listen to about the findings, but it's the same type of thing. It's like there is a huge value and a financial return for organizations to get it right. You get less turnover, less absenteeism, more productivity, but you have to be very intentional about creating some of these cultures. So I just started reading the book, but it's already really good. So Why Workplace Wellbeing Matters is the one top of mind.
Oh man, I feel like I need to go get that right away. What's one leadership habit you swear by?
I do a morning meditation. And even today, it was like, I woke up, I was like, oh, I see Margaret. First thing, I'm excited. But I have to calm my mind because I go in and I'm like, I don't come out till the end of the day. So my calming chatter noise control in my head is definitely something that's taken a lot of practice, but makes me focus better, make better decisions.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
So hard. So hard.
I lead yoga sessions and I sometimes am like in the middle of my yoga session, like thinking about something. I'm like, no, you need to
go away.
Calm yourself down. Yeah, exactly. What gives you hope about the future of leadership?
All these things we're talking about. And this program we have with this group of 20, like every one of these leaders is so committed, yourself included, but just wanting to continue to move the ball forward and do better things with their organizations. And it's a forever journey, But signing up to go on the journey and be like, yes, I think I'm going to make a little change today and a bigger change I can envision. I find that really inspiring because I think that makes a better workplace, which makes better, happier employees, workers, which makes better society. I get very motivated by that.
Eleanor's creating a movement.
I hope so. That's the dream here.
So where can listeners connect with you or learn more about your work?
worldflourishing.com is our website. And that's the best place because we're going to be opening the membership there. We'll be sharing hopefully spotlights from blueprinters, like you share your story of what you're doing at Pariveda and others from the course. We're going to put that there. And that's where we'll announce upcoming programs and then learning opportunities. And then, of course, that'll all be on our LinkedIn as well. And you can follow me there. For Catapult, if you want to do coaching or consulting, just send me a message. But World Flourishing, we have a lot planned and really exciting coming through.
That's so fantastic. Definitely check it out. There's just such amazing work and some amazing research that's been done to date. And it's very convincing about the things that we can do as leaders. So I'm excited for you. Final takeaway or encouragement for today's listeners and leaders?
I think it's remain helpful with this resurgence of command and control. That's not the way it has to be. Let's continue to create the model where leadership is authentic and vulnerable and listens and cares and continues to create a better experience for everyone. So when we wake up Monday morning, go to work, it's a good experience, but it takes that commitment and that desire by leaders, and it's possible. So let's not give up on this. Let's keep this movement going.
We can all flourish. I love that. That's our message today. We can all flourish. We might have to work for it, but
yes,
we can make it happen.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really such a pleasure to have somebody who's accomplished so much in such a little bit of time. I can imagine what's going on in your mind when you're meditating.
Too much. Got to keep that stillness. It's always what I'm striving to do.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret. It's been wonderful.
Thanks for listening to Doing Good by Doing Better. I'm Margaret Rogers, CEO of Pariveda, and I hope this conversation offered you a new way to take your ideas to impact. Follow on Apple or Spotify and join us every other week as we keep learning how to do good by doing better.